What up, dude bros? I'm Frank. This is a video review of the new Nerf Elite 2.0 Flipshots. This is a group review of the Flip-8 and the Flip-16. The Flip-8 is a spring-powered 8-shot blaster with a cool flipping barrel system. The Flip-16 is the same technology, but it has 16 darts instead of 8, and it flips both of them at once, which is pretty cool, very gimmicky. Let's get into it. Included with the Flip-8 is the blaster, darts, and instructions. Included with the Flip-16 is the blaster, disassembled, darts, and the instructions. These barrel units snap into place very simply. External overview of each blaster, starting out with the Flip-8. Starting up at the front, there's no in-strike barrel lug, but it does have a very cool gimmicky barrel system. So right now I have 4 barrels revealed, so you can front load 4 darts just like this. These 4 barrels shoot off one at a time using a smart AR system, but it has 4 more barrels on the other side here. So to flip the barrels around, you pull back on the top slide here. This is not how you prime the blaster, this is just to rotate the system. So to do that, you pull back, and then you can push forward and you're ready to go. It's a pretty cool system that's fun to play with. And so far, I haven't broken it or had any malfunctions with that rotation mech at all. So the idea is to shoot off the 4 darts, but instead of loading, you pull on that and just fling into place already loaded barrels for a super fast reload. It's a total gimmick and really not that battle effective, but it works. And the rotation mech is all based off this thing. It kind of looks like a really cool red dot sight. There's no glass and there's no red dot in there, but it looks awesome in my opinion. And the rotation works really smoothly and it really locks into place when it smacks into that forward position. And moving on with the overview down to the trigger pull is pretty standard. This blaster does not have slam fire. And now down to the grip. This grip does not feel like most Nerf Elite blasters out on the market. It fits my hand really well and I think it's a very comfortable grip. But it does have the finger groove, so if you have weird shaped hands, it might be uncomfortable for you. And down below is the priming handle. This is a spring powered blaster. To prime, you do that. The strength required is in line with other Nerf Elite blasters on the market and it's a pretty smooth prime. Very silly, gimmicky blaster. That is an external overview of the Flip-8. Now to the Flip-16, which is very similar to the Flip-8, but it's really just its big brother, essentially. Starting up at the front, instead of 4 active barrels, it has 8 active barrels, but you front load them in the same way that you front load the Flip-8, like that. Again, it has 8 barrels that can fire at one time. And after you shoot off your available 8 darts and you want to activate your rear barrels, you pull on this green handle down here, like that. The rotation mech on the Flip-16 is a little heavier and clunkier than the Flip-8. This feels more like they're really pushing the limits of the mechanics and it's not quite as smooth and crispy. That being said, it works. Every time I wanted to switch barrels, the blaster did what I asked it to do. Moving on to the priming handle, it's on the right and the left-hand side. It's a big beefy knob, but to prime, you do that. The strength required is in line with other Nerf Elite blasters on the market and it's a pretty smooth prime. Now down to the trigger. This is a pretty unique trigger because it's a 2-stage trigger, just like the rough cut in the Warden. So when you prime the blaster one time, you're able to fire 2 darts. Like that. And that's made possible due to the 2-stage trigger. So you halfway pull and then you full pull for the second dart. Or after you prime, you pull the trigger really hard and shoot 2 darts at once. So that is the trigger system, which is a little unique. Now down to the grip. Overall, I don't like this grip at all. I'm very picky about grips, but I think this one was very poorly executed. Look at the grip on the Flip-8, for example. When you put the webbing of your hand right here all the way up into the highest part of the grip, you are then level with the trigger. Compared to the Flip-16 grip, which for some reason, the webbing of your hand goes up over the trigger by about an inch. So then your trigger finger is trying to go down an inch and the ergonomics is just awful. So it's technically a smooth and filleted grip and whatnot, but it just doesn't match the rest of the blaster at all. But at the bottom of the grip, we have a slinger lanyard mount right here. And now back to the stock. We have a movable stock, which is this thing right here. In the collapsed form, they put this little thing up here, which kind of resembles a red dot sight, which I think is really cool, and it gives an added element to the collapsed form. So it's not just a stock that's in your way, it turns into a sight, which is a good use of space. But when you want to use the stock, you push in on the little button here and pull it out like that. Then you push this button right here to pull down the orange part, and that turns into the stock. However, because it's so wobbly, it's really not that usable as a real stock. And this is exactly the type of blaster that would really benefit from a stable, comfortable stock because it's so front heavy. So this stock being super wobbly really hurts the ergonomics of the blaster. But that is an external overview of the Flip-16 and the Flip-8. Let's see them both fire. Shooting standard blue Nerf Elite darts. operating both blasters went largely as expected. I did not experience any major jams or malfunctions. The Flip-8 rotation mech is very crispy and it works very well. The Flip-16's rotation mech is kind of clunky and a little heavy, and it doesn't work quite as well as the Flip-8's. That being said, every time I pulled on the handle, it flipped properly and it locked into place as it's supposed to. And to compare both of these blasters to others on the market, I put both of them up on my chronograph. Testing the Flip-8 with Nerf Elite darts, I achieved an average velocity of 61 feet per second. And shooting the Flip-16 with Nerf Elite darts achieved an average velocity of 55 feet per second. This is noticeably slower than the 70 FPS par we should expect out of most Nerf Elite blasters out on the market right now. That is the objective information I can provide on these blasters. Now to my personal opinion on each of them. Starting out with the Flip-8, I think the Flip-8 does everything it sets out to do. The flipping barrels is pretty cool. It's a gimmick. I'm not going to say it's a battle effective gimmick, but it's a functional gimmick. And it works smoothly, and it's snappy, and it clicks into place, and it feels really solid. It feels really well built. In addition to that, this grip is comfortable, and I think this red dot looks amazing. The cosmetics and ergonomics of this blaster are pretty solid. So overall, there's no objective reason to avoid purchasing this one. Overall, it does what it's supposed to do. Now to the Flip-16, which is the same concept, but scaled up a little bit. And like a lot of really cool ideas in the world, they just don't work at scale. This blaster just isn't fun to use. It's too big, front heavy, clunky, the grip is terrible, the ergonomics of this blaster is just not fun to use. And yeah, it looks cool to be able to do that, but it really doesn't serve a function, so my personal opinion of the Flip-16 is pretty low. So now to the question to buy or not to buy. The Flip-16, I don't think anybody should purchase this. I don't think anybody is going to buy this and be really happy with that purchase. The ergonomics are pretty bad, the balance is pretty bad, the performance is pretty bad. I mean, it's a pretty cool gimmicky concept that works reasonably well, but I think you'll just get bored of it after 30 minutes. And that's a more expensive purchase that isn't going to make you happy after a month of owning it. So I don't see any buyer being happy with the Flip-16. However, the Flip-8 is actually pretty fun to use. Now don't get me wrong, it's a total gimmick. It's not really that battle effective, but it works pretty well for what it is. And it is pretty satisfying to flip those barrels around because the mechanism works really well. So the grip is comfortable, the ergonomics are more reasonable, so it's entertaining to use this blaster. It's not battle effective, it's not going to help you win any Nerf wars, but it's fun to use. And think back to the first Nerf blaster you fell in love with. It's probably not the most utilitarian, functional, zombie-slaying blaster out on the market. It probably just appealed to you in a weird, quirky way. And that's what this blaster is. It's going to bring new people into the hobby, but I think to the really young people who are just getting into the Nerf hobby that are still drawn in by these silly gimmicks, they might actually be happy with the Flip-8. And it's for that reason that I think it's an okay blaster to be out on the market. The Flip-16 is not a good product, and I don't think anybody's going to be really happy with this purchase. So the Flip-8 is certainly a gimmick, but it's a functional, high-quality gimmick. It might not be for you, but I know somebody's going to buy this and be pretty happy with it. And this might be the first blaster they have in their collection, and it'll just take them a couple months to get into the flywheels and the more competitive stuff that us performance nerfers tend to gravitate towards. We all have to start somewhere. So weird, silly blasters that might have flung through a time machine from the 90s. That's the vibe I'm getting. So hopefully I've laid out all the information you need to make an educated purchase decision on your own. If you'd like to buy either of these, I'll put purchase links in the description box below. That concludes this video review. Thanks so much for watching, bros, and as always, stay tactical.